This episode is brought to you by Smart Food. There are a bunch of ways to be smart during the holiday season. Getting the shopping done early, not sitting your aunt next to your mom, and snacking on Smart Food popcorn. It's air pop popcorn tossed in delicious white cheddar cheese or sweet and salty kettle corn. You are what you eat. Welcome to the Smart Club. Shop now at snacks.com.
When Shopify says you can sell anywhere, oh, they mean it. Woo, hold up. Just got a new sale. Whoa, Shopify doesn't mind if you're at sea level or on top of the world.
Whether you're selling carabiners or crop tops, start selling with Shopify today and join the platform simplifying commerce for millions of businesses worldwide. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Sign up for a free trial at shopify.com/offer22. Shopify.com/offer22.
I trash fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to BWAAA, King of the Hill Rewatch podcast. I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
And there's one more voice on this line, and this is Jayden. Jayden, can you introduce yourself and just kind of give us an idea of what you do?
I am Jayden Libran. I'm a voice actor from California. My credits include Hell of a Boss on YouTube, Fox's Duncanville, and most recently, Beavis and Butthead. Also regarded as one of the best, if not the best, Hank Hill impersonators by Mike Judge himself. It's good to be here.
So, Jayden, it is spectacular to have you here, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
I want to know how this happened. You know, you told us earlier that you've been doing the King of the Hill, the Hank voice, for 10 plus years. Yep. How do you get on the radar of Mike Judge and his production company or whoever contacted you?
So, yeah, I have been doing my Hank voice since I was a freshman back in 2012. Netflix used to have the entire run of the show, so I binged it over the summer and fell in love with it and just loved doing Hank's voice. So I kept doing it over the last 10 years. And finally, in 2020, I had applied for The Simpsons, and I was doing a lot of Simpsons impressions and was making a name for myself. And that's how I got Duncanville. And then towards the tail end of 2020, I realized, you know, there's only so many Simpsons voices that I do, but there's also a number of other shows that I could be doing impression videos of. And I do a really good Hank, so I might as well do a little video of that. So I recorded I think it was like 45, 50-second video of me just running lines as Hank, and posted that on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Mike Judge, Kathy Najimy, Pamela Adlon, and Jonathan Joss, as well as several writers, saw it across Facebook and Twitter, and they liked it, and that surprised me. And when I saw Mike Judge, of all people, who's, in my view, pretty reclusive, had liked it, I sent him a message, and I'm glad that his profile actually allowed me to do that. Yeah. And lo and behold, he responded and said, yeah, this was one of the best Hank voices I've heard. It's very difficult for people to really master Hank's voice, and he'd keep me in mind for future projects.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
you know, I expressed how grateful I was that he responded and that he actually liked my video and that I'd love to work on a project with him, and that was his response.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome stuff, man.
You know, it's really odd whenever you realize how small the world is. You know, that you can put things out there and the actual people may respond to you. You know, I mean, that's a huge
which
deal.
Almost never happens.
Yeah,
it almost never happens.
Sure, I would imagine. So, how do you you said you've done some stuff for Beavis and Butthead? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so after I spoke to Mike, I think this was around New Year's Eve in 2020. We kept in touch, and he said he was developing some projects, and I'd ask him every couple of weeks or months how things were going, and then they gave the announcement that there was going to be a show with Beavis and Butthead, so I very subtly, elbowed him, like, how's this show coming along? You got Beavis and Butthead coming? And he'd respond, and, he finally passed on, well, not finally, but he passed on my email and voice demo to the casting crew of the reboot series. And they reached out to me, and they gave me a number of roles that I could apply for, and I tried out for all of them, and they got back to me, and, they said, when can you be here? And finally, around I think it was November 23rd. It was the Wednesday just before Thanksgiving of 2021. They had me in the booth, and we did a few episodes, and I recorded for them.
Can you tell us which characters?
I guess I can now. I do a bunch, but you remember the manager from Burger World?
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I get to play him now.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's really cool taking on a character that he originated, and being directed by him was really fun. And initially, when I had, they asked me in an email if I wanted to try out for him, and just to send a voice clip and email them back with it. And I thought I did such a terrible job that I wanted to re-record that voice of the manager. And they got back to me and they said, no, it's fine. No, we want you to do the manager. So I did the manager voice for the reboot series, and it's really nice.
So, that's awesome. Yeah, because I just recently started watching, since the movie came out, I recently started going back and watching the old Beavis and Butthead, which I think is awesome that Paramount was able to secure all the rights for all the music videos, because I think without all that, it would have been it would have been really hollow. I mean, it still would have been funny, but it would have been hollow without it. So no, that's awesome. Yeah.
So Jayden, tell me, how does it feel to have basically one of your dreams come true?
It was so surreal, and part of me still hasn't processed it fully that I actually got to work with Mike Judge. He wasn't in the booth in person. He joined us by Zoom, but even just talking to him and doing those voices in front of him, it was almost like the universe was going to shatter. I did a Hank voice for him once I left, and I said something along the lines of, be sure to cook your turkey with a nice, clean, burning propane grill, I tell you what. That made him laugh.
That's great.
Laughed as well.
That's really
and
well, making one of the funniest guys on Earth laugh. Well, making one of the funniest guys on Earth laugh has to be an accomplishment.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it was so weird when it happened, and he would, we would go through the scripts, and he'd say, let's record for this character, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll just do a David Cross impression, and that made him laugh, or whatever voice I did made him laugh, and that was cool.
Can you
really nice guy.
What is your favorite impression? Because I've see a ton of stuff that you do. You do Krusty, you do some folks from Futurama. Yeah. So which
Futurama, yeah.
Which one do you think would be your favorite one to do? And it can be a super obscure one. Just what's your favorite one?
I don't know that I have a favorite.
Yeah.
I've got some more frequent ones. I do Peter freaking Griffin here. I do Hank
really
often.
Good.
Got a lot of Hank voices. Yeah, thank you. I've got a lot of Hank videos on TikTok.
Right.
So he's an easy one for me.
Right.
I was very satisfied when I learned to do Krusty the Clown's voice from The Simpsons, and all the Simpson characters are really fun to perfect.
Right.
I've got a video of 101 Simpsons impressions. So
wow.
I do like The Simpsons. I like doing Rocko's Modern Life voices.
Oh,
dear.
Oh, that was good.
Rock out.
That's really good.
Yeah, there's a lot that I do.
So
I don't know that I have a favorite.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like, Sophie's Choice kind of thing. I'm asking you to choose your favorite kid or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So you've been doing Hank since high school. How do you get into doing impressions at that age, or where did you start?
I've always been doing voices for as long as I can remember, and so far as I know, it dates back to just playing with toys.
Mm-hmm.
I never liked it when I was playing like with my friends or something, and like G.I. Joe would have the same voice as like a Superman. Like, hey, G.I. Joe, hey, Superman. And I was like, no, there needs to be a distinction. I need to know that this is G.I. Joe.
Sure.
So yeah, I didn't point that out, but that was just sort of my inner thinking on this. So when I play with my toys, I'd give Kermit the Frog his usual voice, and I'd give G.I. Joe or Captain Jack Sparrow his voice, and I wanted to perfect them and get them to their usual nuances so that we could distinguish that, and it made it more fun. It's not as fun doing your voice when you play with all your toys as a kid. You got to throw in your imagination.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I took in classes in theater and expanded upon my range, and then did a lot from there on YouTube, and eventually got into formal voice acting.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing that you had that transition from just playing with your toys and giving unique voices to your toys to working with Mike Judge. That's a transition.
Well,
yeah,
I was going to kind of ask you about that. I see. So when I look through kind of your Instagram posts, I see you as a small child with a puppet. I see maybe some newspaper clippings, some different things. I see some cosplay stuff. So I used to teach high school, and I can't imagine that a guy who does a bunch of voices and puppet stuff is necessarily like, there's not a lot of clubs in high school for that kind of thing, right? I mean, it's all jocks and cheerleaders and, outcasts and stuff. So where did you kind of fit in as far as high school goes?
I don't know. I know people regarded me as weird. I had a good amount of friends. I can't say I was popular, but everybody knew me, and I didn't have any enemies, so to speak.
Sure.
It didn't really get bullied. Well, not a whole lot.
As an adult, I don't think that popular exists, really. I think that was all just in our minds, a figment of our imagination, because a lot of those people who were quote unquote popular from my high school are, not very reputable people anymore.
I think what it was like I was able, thankfully, this isn't the 1980s where the bullies were as prominent as they are. Right. But thankfully, I was able to secure myself and establish these talents as something that's not like niche or creepy or disturbing. I was able to do that really early on in high school, and made it enjoyable. I was never a kid who, like, brought puppets to school. It was sort of bring it out on a special occasion and make everyone laugh, so that like I wasn't disrespected.
Yeah, I was going to say there's probably a really fine line there between being talented and being creepy. If you do show up to school with your puppet every day, you probably have issues. But being able to use it, to entertain people, that's a whole different thing. And I can imagine that even if there was a little bit of that, he's a little weird or whatever, that you kind of ended up with the last laugh here, right?
I did, and that's what I was going to mention. Whatever bullying I did receive was usually at the hands of jealousy, or they didn't understand. But it was never because I was doing something wrong. Yeah. Disturbing people.
I just know how high school can be, and it can be a rough place, especially for somebody who does a lot of theater stuff and things like that. I was an art teacher, so all of those kids, spent hours a day in my room. And because they didn't necessarily play football and all the other stuff, and so we would have a lot of these talks, and some of them are truly, truly talented kids, and it's too bad that experiences like high school don't bring that out in them. You know,
school
instead
needs
it makes
to.
them take it inside.
They definitely need to focus more on the arts. I think there's not enough focus on artistic expression in formal education.
Absolutely.
Right. And people, settle into doing things like insurance or real estate or and things like that because they gave up. They were bullied into accepting something that was normal. And I didn't want to fit into that box of like working at Kohl's because somebody said, you're never going to make it.
Right.
No, well, you made it. No, definitely. One of the goals for our podcast that I've been kind of doing is I wanted to seek out content creators in the sphere of King of the Hill. I wanted to reach out to people actually affiliated with King of the Hill, as far as cast, crew, whatever, that I was able to get animators. But one thing that I really thought would be neat to do is just, reach out to content creators. And you're actually our third content creator and our second impressionist, I guess, if you will. So one of the first interviews that we've had, we had the guy who's blown up on TikTok, the real Hank Trill, the one that does the Hank Hill raps.
God dang it, Hank Trill. I don't think I do a better Hank. No,
yeah, you do a better Hank for sure. Yeah. I think your Hank impression's better. His is I don't think his is meant to be a spot on impression, but it's definitely great to have you on though. I appreciate you coming and talking with us.
He's really talented too, and I'm glad there was it was like a solid month when I was doing my Hank voice and everyone was like, "Hey, are you Hank Trill?" And I'm like, "No." Everyone was telling me the raps that he was doing, and I'm like, "I've seen him. I follow him. This isn't me."
Yeah.
I would love to see a collaboration. I think that would be great. I think that'd be funny.
Hank versus Hank rap.
Yeah, there you go.
Hank, that's right. Hey, so tell me about, I see that you have been involved in some films, especially with the puppetry and stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that part of your career?
Yeah, so as I've mentioned, I'm also a puppeteer. When I was 16, I did a workshop with the Jim Henson Company, which originated and did Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and Fraggle Rock and all that stuff. And I was the youngest attendee ever to train with Henson.
Wow. And
they kept me on file. And once I was 18, they announced that they had a project that had been in development hell since I was in the 6th grade called the Happy Time Murders. They remembered me from when I had applied 2 years prior when I was 16. And the director and son of Jim Henson, Brian Henson, approached me one day and that he wanted me to work on the movie, and that was great. So I got to work full time. I got to meet people like Melissa McCarthy, Elizabeth Banks, Joel McHale, Jimmy O Yang, excuse me, Leslie David Baker, so on and and it was really great experiences, as well as all the many great puppeteers that I had looked up to, like Bill Beretta, Austin, Alan Troutman, so many people that they're great people.
That's really cool, man. I have very limited experience with puppetry. We did one adult puppet show here at a little space we have with a band and a comedian and things like that, little variety show. And I cannot even imagine doing that for an extended period of time. I did it for like an hour that night, and I was done for a couple of days. So I give you a lot of respect for that stuff, man.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't have any lines in that movie. I was just the core puppeteer and did some 17 or 18 puppets in that movie. But it was a good chance to sort of fill out the world and get an idea of the movie making experience. And I was way in over my head with that. Nothing that we see in the final cut of that movie was at all how it looked like when we made it. So it's just like so much technical matters that make a film look like how it does, and that's really what got me awestruck.
Yeah, I would imagine just being behind the scenes there and seeing how the quote unquote sausage is made. A lot of people probably would be, I don't want to say disappointed, but definitely over their head, you know, just wowed by the whole experience and things. They say, you know, you should never meet your heroes. Is that has that been the case for you, or have most of them been pretty good people?
No, they've mostly been pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that necessarily, but
sure.
When I worked with them, they were all very nice to me.
That's great.
Not all of them, you know, some people had some issues with me, but for the most part, everyone was very kind and cordial and open to me. Very patient as well, considering that was my first production job ever. So I'm glad that nice to me. But I never got like a cold shoulder or an insult or something. It was just like, I don't know if this guy really likes me is the thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would imagine that's tough. You know, going in, it seems to me that would be tougher than even just acting in a movie, because there are so many technical aspects to it.
And, you know, you're working with career pros that have done this from like Street and Muppet movies and other TV shows for years. And this is my first job, you know, ever.
Well, that's a good way to cut your teeth sometimes, is to just dive right into something like that. Especially, I mean, just for the experience of it, it's, you know, that's priceless, being able to work with, you know, someone as famous as Jim Henson's son. I've watched a lot of Jim Henson productions, so I really like appreciate puppeteering, and it's yeah, I don't know how you guys do it at all. It's great to watch. So you said it was the Happy Time Murders was the one that you worked on.
Yep. I don't know where it's on now. Probably Peacock, but
yeah, it's somewhere out there. I've never seen it, but I'm gonna make it a point to watch it.
Yeah, it was on Netflix for a bit, not anymore. So if you find it anywhere, maybe Amazon, you know, check it out.
Sure.
Very puppet comedy, but it's fun. It's a fun guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. But that was before I knew the guy behind the felt. So.
Oh, thank you.
Good. So let's get back to King of the Hill. Do you do any other impressions of characters from King of the Hill?
Well, I do Dale, a.k.a. Rusty Shackleford. Shah! Pocket Sand.
That's great.
And Tom Redcorn. Dale, I was just massaging Nancy's migraines. And the dang old boom, I was talking to dang old fast that I can't even the dang old keep up to talking to dang old pork big, I tell you what. And of course, Bill here, Bill Dotreve, Bill Copper Dotreve. I was married from 1991 to 1994. Thank you, sir.
Tell me that you've ever run across Stephen Root. Have you ever dealt with Stephen Root?
I don't know where I would meet him.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
Yeah, just didn't know since he did Bill. I didn't know he's one of my all-time favorites just because he's a character actor. I see him as kind of a all-in-one guy. You know, he's able to be many different characters, but he's always Stephen Root. And you know, I think that he's almost kind of a character actors are kind of the impressionists of acting, I guess. You know, they're able to fill in those little roles that don't often get all the credit, but more often than not steal the show. You
know. Yeah. If I do ever meet Stephen Root, that'd be great.
Good. I'll give you my number, and you can just pass it on to him. That'd be great.
Yeah, he's great. Football. He was actually in one of the Jim Henson Company movies, Country Bear 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course. Really talented, really funny guy.
Yeah. Well, man, you are super talented at this, and where do you think you're going next with it?
I mean, if Mike has more shows lined up, and as I understand it, he's got a new production company with Greg Daniels, then I'd love to work on whatever he's doing. As I understand it, you know, there's usually like a pool of people that he brings back in to do his things, like people from Beavis and Butthead are on King of the Hill and things now. So if he does want to bring me back, I'd love to do that. But I guess the goal that I have is to work on Simpsons before it eventually outlives all of us.
Yeah, no kidding.
Absolutely. It's been on for a long time. I was born in 1990, and I don't remember a time without it because there's not been. It's been around my whole entire life.
I think it'll just engulf us all one day. But I just want a little bit of a chance to work on that show and do an actual character. I did get to do a background job. It's called a BWAAA, where basically you make noises in the background and they fill that in for crowd scenes.
No.
And I did one episode, Bart the Cool Kid in season 33. So I'm technically in a Simpsons episode, but I've never voiced a Simpsons character, and I'd love to do that.
How amazing is it that you say, "Oh yeah, it's in season 33"?
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it's just baffling that it's gone on that long.
I would never think of a number that high when it comes to something like Beavis and Butthead or King of the Hill, even Family Guy.
Yeah. I saw another thing I saw on your Instagram feed is a Simpsons comic that you wrote when you were 10.
Oh man, yeah. We had box sets of The Simpsons, and I binged the show one winter break and got really into the show. I had always liked The Simpsons, but I had never watched it straight through. So we got the box sets, and I started drawing them a lot, and I got the comic books. My friends would let me borrow their books, and I started drawing them a lot, and eventually made my own story with them. Simpsons Comics Donut Land or something like that. And it is so cathartic. I had no sense of storytelling back then. It was just jumping wall to wall, and somehow it's still like the same length as an actual episode when I read it out loud.
Oh wow!
But it would never work as a script. And it was about Homer wanting a donut, of course, very simple. And he goes across town looking for donuts. Nobody has donuts, so he steals donuts from people's homes, and they get upset with that. So to pay them back, he creates his donut-themed amusement park, and that fails. So he's run out of town and goes to this Willy Wonka-type factory that sells donuts and then destroys that. It really just ping-pongs from location to location. It's really crazy. But, that was something that I did. Maybe I'm King of the Hill comic someday.
So what's great is you had your timing down. You just didn't have your writing chops down yet.
I don't know what the hell I was doing. But nowadays, I do actual animations with the Simpsons characters, and I've done some with Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill as well, where I'll voice them. So that's sort of like as close as it really gets to working on these shows, other than Beavis and Butthead, of course.
Sure.
But I have to voice Hank for a crossover video with Bob's Burgers.
That's exactly what I was fixing to ask you about. Yeah. Was that crossover video? Tell me about the genesis of that and how that happened.
So in 2020, it just popped out of nowhere. This video from Orange Phoenix. I think Orange Phoenix 6 might be it, or 60 or something.
Right.
There's a number at the end. But Orange Phoenix put out this crossover video of Bob's Burgers and King of the Hill, and it's really well animated. Looks like the King of the Hill star really well, and on the Bob's Burgers on like King of the Hill. And he did it all alone. But the audio is just clips from the actual show, or both shows spliced together so it sounds like actual conversations. And I left a comment and said, this is really good. And if you ever do another one, I'd love to do the voice of Hank. And he checked out the voice and reached out and said, let's actually do it. So 2021, I recorded it. And over the next year, he animated it all and put it out, I think, last month. And it has been great. It's a great video. And the distinction between the two is the first one was like a part one of this weird story with King of the Hill and Bob's Burgers. And then, the one that he put out recently was like the prologue to them meeting. And it's still got all the voice clips from Bob's Burgers and King of the Hill, but like I was the only one that actually provided new audio for Hank.
Yeah. This is it's Orange Phoenix 6 is the give credit where credit's due, right? And I'm looking at their I'm looking at their YouTube now. Boy, they've got a
lot of
cool stuff. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check them out a little bit more.
Seinfeld animations, all kinds of stuff. That's really cool, though, man. I mean, it's amazing when you can get into a rotation where people know who you are and know that you have these great services, you know, and you're able to fill these parts for people. I'm sure that's really fulfilling on your part.
It has been great. And it's nice that, like, now at this point, I've done Hank in animated form at least 4 or 5 times for people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been fun. And that people know me as, like, the go-to person for a really good Hank, pun not intended, good Hank.
Sure.
But, yeah, it's a really fun voice to do, and it's great getting into that character. He's a very perplexing, monotone, boring kind of guy that has so much depth to him. So, you know, doing Hank's voice is a real pleasure, not like the pleasure I get from propane and propane accessories.
That is awesome. I love it.
Have you ever been reached out to by like a Comic-Con or anything like that? Any sort of fan-based celebration?
We're talking about it for a Hell of a Boss that I do.
Yeah.
I don't know when that would be. Maybe next summer or so. I don't know.
Sure,
but
sure.
I'd love some convention panels and things like that, or have a booth. But I'm not out of that level of popularity yet.
I can't even imagine, you know, I know you enjoy doing King of the Hill voices, but doing that all day for a couple of days for a Comic-Con just seems like it would be pure hell at the end.
Oh, I wouldn't mind.
So
Maybe.
Tell us about Hell of a Boss.
That was my first animated project. It has a weird background. Billy and Mandy was a cartoon on Cartoon Network with the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, I remember that.
Being the best 2 children. And the creator, Maxwell Adams, had announced that he was doing this puppet movie, a puppet zombie flick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reached out to him, asked him how the progress was going on that, and he responded to me and said he needed some puppets built. So I built him a massive mutant puppet for that movie. Unfortunately, he canceled the project because it was very taxing, and he was using his house as a set, and we had to basically destroy his house.
Oh, wow.
The zombie puppet flick.
Yeah.
But he was really dedicated to that project for about 6 years and pulled the plug. But he brought me on board to build puppets, and he brought his animation friends and voice actor friends to help out as well. And they were doing puppetry as well, and wasn't that good. But they were helping him, and you know, I got to meet him. And Vivian Medrano was one of the puppeteers that he had brought on board, and I recognized the shirt that she was wearing, which was a Has Been Hotel. Something that she had created. And I had been seeing those characters for a bit, wasn't really sure what it was, thought it was some internet ad, and, you know, turns out she was the creator of that.
Wow.
Maxwell had us over for a Halloween party, and we were talking, and she said that she had the show Hell of a Boss was going to be coming out, I think that night or the next night. So, you know, that really solidified in my mind that she was a creator of a really, really big thing. And it was really big. Has Been Hotel has been really, really successful, and actually has a show coming to A24. You know, we talked about other projects and stuff that she was working on, and Hell of a Boss happened to be one of them. And she showed me the pilot, and got to the point that we kept talking about it, and she said she had a character for me in 2020. And what was so interesting was, it was, I think, July of 2020 that I recorded for Hell of a Boss as my character Colin the Cherub. And after I left that recording was when there was a BBC article published about me doing Simpsons impressions. So that was a very impressive day. Yeah.
I've got a question for you. What about what is Slim Destruction?
Are you on my IMDb?
I did click on IMDb just to be curious to see if I could see anything obscure to ask you about, and yeah, I'm kind of interested. What is Slim Destruction?
But I didn't make my IMDb. My brother did. I still need something because I got to pay for the $100-something subscription per year, and I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I did that because it was a student film that he had done with his friend. I was just I played a past version of him. Was the thing that I did, and he put me in a footage for that. I haven't seen. It might be somewhere. I don't know. Don't watch it because I was young as hell.
That looks like one that would be hard to find.
Yeah, I don't have access to my IMDb. I don't even think there's a picture up there, but I gotta get in there and add all the stuff that I have worked on. That's a lot more recognizable. So, yeah, definitely not that.
So let me just ask you a couple more questions, and then we'll get you out of here. But tell me about how Duncanville came about and who you play there.
So as I mentioned at the end of the recording session for Hell of a was when I saw that there was a BBC article published about me, and that got the attention of the Simpsons producers. And I was on the Today Show. I was on several radio shows and podcasts and talk shows, just doing my Simpsons impressions. Because at the time they had announced a recasting for the characters of color, and I was really trying for Carl and Officer Lou and Dr. Hibbert and all these other characters, putting out Simpsons impressions, and that got covered by the media. Surprised the hell out of me.
Right.
So Simpsons people saw it, and lo and behold, Mike Scully, who is one of the producers and former showrunner of The Simpsons, caught wind of that and kept me in mind and got me on board with his casting director, and they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do Duncanville, and I said yeah, and we got to do I think 4 or 5 episodes happening. There's a few that haven't been released yet. They'll be on Hulu. Fox has pulled the plug, but the show isn't officially dead. They've got plans for more.
Right.
It's just not going to be Fox.
Right.
But yeah, Scully and his wife Julie reached out to me and directed me in the booth, and have had me in a few times. Really great people, and I'm really glad that even if the Simpsons didn't hire me, that some people caught wind of my things and brought me on board for something.
Yeah, it's amazing to me now, as a child of the '80s, that TV shows such as like Duncanville and even Family Guy or whatever, get that second and third chance now with all the different streaming apps and all the different places that they can be. Back in the day, it was you were one and done. If something got canceled, it got canceled. It didn't have a second life. And so
I think it's gone forever.
Yeah, I just think it's amazing that things can live on the way they do now, and finally find that audience they were looking for. Because that audience at 8 p.m. Central Time probably was not the group that needed to be exposed to this thing. So,
and the internet has played a big role in that too. Where now these can get together, like what we're doing now.
Yeah,
people can discuss their favorite episodes and favorite characters and theories and foods and plans, or even make fan animations and projects and things like that. So the internet revitalized a lot of fan bases for people.
Yeah. Well, man, I can't believe how lucky we were to be able to talk to you, and we both really admire the stuff that you're doing, and just hope that good things keep coming your way. And it was a pleasure talking to you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we wish you the best. I don't doubt that we'll see you in plenty of stuff to come. I'm sure. I'm sure it's just the beginning of a long career.
Well, we may not see you, but we'll hear you.
We'll hear you.
Yeah,
we'll hear you.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, and let me just offer you a 5% discount on your next propane fill-up.
That's fantastic.
That's
Thank you, Hank.
Thank you
really
very much. We appreciate it.
We're gonna taste the meat and not the heat. Well, thanks, man.
That's all right.
You have a wonderful day, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
All right,
absolutely appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah.
Bah.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Mike.
And we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a one-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.